And today on the Financial Planner Life podcast, I'm joined by Vikash Kanani. He has pivoted from a career in recruitment 10 years ago into building a business with 1.2 million in the financial planning profession.
And ultimately, I think what recruiters do, they find a solution to a problem. And this is what I loved about recruitment. There is always a solution. There is always the right person for the role, for the company, for the culture.
I genuinely believe that we can fix the advice gap by taking people who work in recruitment and putting them in financial planning.
I do think recruitment's a good fit for financial planning. Ultimately, in both things, you are more providing a service above and beyond anything else. It's how you make people feel.
It's a fantastic career switch, and today Vikash shares his journey, how he's built his business to over 250 million of assets under management. And stick around to the end because we're going to talk a little bit about a golf day, a Financial Planner Life event that's happening in the summer, and you're going to love it. Vikash, thank you so much for joining me today on the Financial Planner Life podcast. How are you, mate?
I'm good, Sam. I'm good. Nice sunny day in Nottingham. Nothing to complain about.
Good. Well, it's definitely sunny in Dubai. It never stops being sunny. We celebrate when it actually rains. But hopefully not one of those flash floods we saw. Remember that flash flood they saw in Dubai? I think it was last year, wasn't it?
That was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I saw some of the videos out here of it, and I was just like, oh my God. And like some of the guys were saying in the office how high the water actually came. But I kind of witnessed it slightly because it rained one afternoon and like there's no drainage here. And it just started filling up with water. And I was like, well, you can understand why if like a monsoon came along or something, how quickly this place would be underwater. But yeah, very weird. You never stop talking about the weather though, even if you leave England. It's still continues to talk about it.
It's the British. One way or another, we will start every conversation with the weather, especially if it's sunny. Every Brit will mention the sun.
Perfect. Well, Vikash, thank you so much for joining me. We've obviously got to know each other through a little closed community, a little group of financial planners that I've been invited to. And it's been really lovely just to sit in there and listen to you all talking as well and observing what you guys and girls are talking about. And we've built a nice little community in there, and I pipe up every now and then with some hints and some tips where I can help. And I'm pleased to say you picked up on one of my hints and the tips, which is using video, wasn't it? You started using video on LinkedIn, but I brought you into the world of captions, the app on the mobile.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever Sam Oakes talks, I'm listening, and especially if he's talking about social media, marketing, video or content. So yeah, at the start of this year, I wanted to bring my LinkedIn written content into a visual form. So I started putting a few videos out there, and you piped up, Sam, and went, hey, check out captions. So I downloaded it, had a look, and then I think a few hours later I sent you a video of me reciting Shakespeare into the camera. So yeah, I've started using captions, and it helps massively on a number of things. One, using the features within it to make your videos a bit more interesting, and two, the sort of the teleprompter function on it. And I think you said, look, you can now just focus on writing scripts and making sure that your content does exactly what you want it to, as opposed to just talking into a camera, making mistakes, and then spending lots and lots of times kind of trying to get your message across. Whereas now I can just focus on the message in the written form and then deliver it directly into the camera.
Absolutely. And for those not aware of the actual app itself, you can literally record yourself onto your mobile phone, import a script into it onto a teleprompter, read the teleprompter at the speed that you desire on the mobile phone itself. You can speed it up, slow it down. And of course, you can edit it directly on your phone as well. It can record in 4K, and it's even got some AI features like denoising the background and making sure your eyes are looking at the actual camera, not at the script. So it kind of does some tricky little thing with your eyes, doesn't it? Makes it look at the phone, which is quite impressive. And as you said, so, you know, you'd sit there and think, well, what can I talk about? So you do 25 takes of trying to get the perfect thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You can just get the script perfect, put it in there, and off you go. And it, to me, it's a game changer. And for anybody that's thinking about using social media and video and don't know where to start or to how to make it easy, that is probably the easiest entry point, and it looks really, really good. So I'm really pleased you picked it up, because your videos just changed. So all your social media changed. Like when you started doing that, it was like a more relaxed approach to it. You could see straight away, but you didn't look like you were reading from a teleprompter either. You know, it looked really natural.
No, and that's it. And it takes a bit of practice. You know, you can't just look at the camera and not blink and everything. So the words are there. You still need to know what you're going to talk about, and you might go off script a little bit. But it's just practicing with, if you're walking and talking, to sort of look away, and yeah, not just look like it, and getting your cadence right as well. It needs to sound like a conversation.
Fantastic. Vikash, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us where you are in your career and how you got there.
Good question. So I'm this October, I'm 10 years in to the world of financial planning. Not a career that I ever thought I would do, or even knew what it was when I was younger. So I always wanted to be a lawyer, wanted to be a solicitor. Law was everything to me. So I based my A-levels around subjects that would help me with law. So I studied history, English literature, and then I did maths and business studies as well, because I always had that acumen. Went to Warwick University, studied law and business studies, and then not a lot of people know this, but I actually went to law school to do my LPC, my legal practice course, and had a training contract lined up as well with a good law firm. And partway through the LPC, I realized I don't think this is what I want to do. I think, like with a lot of things, I thought law was one thing. You know, you watch films, you read John Grisham novels growing up. As I found out more about it, I found out that the money was in corporate and commercial law. So I did my law school electives based on becoming a corporate and commercial lawyer, chasing the money. And at some point, it all just imploded, and I thought, this is really not what I want to do. So I dropped out of law school, turned down my training contract, and then I had a number of lost years where I did various bits, and ended up, like a lot of people do, I fell into recruitment. So I saw an advert in the paper, or more, my dad did. He said, hey, you need to go and get a job, so go and have a look at this. It was a temporary position, working in an educational recruitment firm. So at the start of every new academic year, they recruit a number of temps. So I went and did that just to earn a bit of money, and I basically ended up going from a temporary position to 7 years later, I was on the board as head of business development and marketing. Good company, private equity backed. Ended up in boardrooms in London in these big meetings. I was probably mid to late 20s at that point, earning some good money. And that's what I was. I was a recruiter that grew within that firm, met my wife there. And at one point, being the people that we are, we said, do you know what? We can do this better ourselves. So my wife left and set up her own recruitment company. And 6 months later, I followed. And that's what we did. Recruitment bug. We ran our own company. And through connections of connections, we ended up recruiting some high-profile names, one of which was St. James's Place.
Okay.
So we were recruiting trainers for St. James's Place. So this was 2014, 2015. My wife went to London for a meeting with a chap called Adrian Batchelor, who at the time was the head of the academy, which was fairly new at that point. I accompanied her, and as the story goes, partway through the meeting, Adrian just stopped the meeting, looked me dead in the eye and went, Vikash, you'd make a great financial planner. I didn't really know what to say. I thought he was joking. I didn't come from money. My parents didn't have a financial planner. I didn't have any connections. But he told me about this academy, the numbers of financial planners dropping post-RDR, and that they were looking for second careerists who had something about them, who could learn the technical skills, but maybe already had the attitude to become a planner. So that's how the journey started, and that was I joined the SJP Academy in October 2015.
Oh, fantastic. So you kind of stumbled into it like a lot of people actually do.
Like a lot of people do. Yeah.
Yeah, nice to hear you came from a recruitment background. I genuinely believe recruitment could be a fantastic place for financial planning companies to attract talent from, because of the varied nature of the role, a huge amount of focus on business development, the 360 aspects.
Yeah.
The managing multiple workload, operational, writing job adverts, writing job descriptions, sitting in with businesses, sitting in with clients, having to ask those really deep, meaningful, fact-finding conversations, spinning multiple plates over and over and over again. I mean, it is really a fantastic training ground. And lots of people who do well in recruitment tend to go on to do other things and be a success in doing it. Or because it's such an easy one like you did and you and your wife did, to step away, build your own business and do it yourself. So that's very, very interesting. So would you agree? Do you think recruitment is a good fit for financial planning?
I do think recruitment's a good fit for financial planning. Ultimately, in both things, you are more providing a service above and beyond anything else. It's how you make people feel. Obviously, in recruitment, you've ultimately got to find them the right candidate. But it's how you manage that process, how you fact find. You become a specialist in certain areas. I, with my legal background, recruited for lawyers and solicitors, so I needed to know, right, at the minute, I've spoke to 4 HR departments and they're all struggling to find solicitors who are 4 years PQE, so post-qualification experience. And then you might start looking into, well, why is that? Well, that's because in 2008, when there was a crash, people stopped recruiting and that's had a knock-on impact. So then when you next speak to your next 3 HR contacts, instead of just ringing up and trying to get something out of them, you might ring up and say, hey, I've noticed this with other law firms. Are you in a similar position? You add value, you give them a bit of insight. And ultimately, I think what recruiters do, they find a solution to a problem. And this is what I loved about recruitment. There is always a solution. There is always the right person for the role, for the company, for the culture. And it was my job, via my existing contacts and database, or via LinkedIn, or via company websites, to find that person. And again, it's a two-way thing. It's not just me recruiting someone for a company. I'm effectively putting Sam Oakes in a role that he might be in for the next 10, 15, however many years. And it's all about people, which I think translates into financial planning really, really well.
How old were you when you made that transition and then started on the SJP Academy?
I had just turned 31.
Yeah, interesting. About the age that people start to consider life after recruitment.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people get in around about 21 years old and then get out around the early 30s, either sell their businesses or they get out. I was quite late to recruitment. I think I was a trainer first for Aviva, to do a lot of training for Aviva. And then I moved into recruitment at 27 years old and then got out of it at 42 years old. So about a 10-year stint. Well, actually, it's more than that. It's about 16 years stint, I think. But similar sort of pathway. Great stuff. And also, what about the actual niching down though? So when you've got recruiters that are specifically looking at niches, whether it be teachers or legal sector or something like that, I think that's always very interesting as well, because they understand the niche, they understand the pain points that they have. So when it goes into actually targeting them as clients, prospecting them, it comes in beneficial because they already have a ready-made market, a ready-made niche to go after.
Yeah, I think that helps. And to an extent, it doesn't really matter what the niche is. I ended up with 2 niches. One was the lawyers from my legal background. My other niche was completely random that no one will expect. I ended up being the go-to guy for media companies in Holland, of all places. So Fox Networks, as in the Fox, became one of our biggest clients. And at that point, they were looking for roles called schedulers and programmers. So they are literally the people who put the schedule together for the TV program that you watch, that put in when the adverts are, what goes where. And I again fell into that, got to know Fox, got to know the team, got to know the competitors in the area, so companies like Viacom. And at one point, honestly, I was having 15, 20 conversations a day with people in all over Holland. It was the Benelux area, so Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. So yeah, doesn't matter what the niche is, but if you know about something and you've got a point and value to add, then people will listen.
One of the things that come up a lot when it comes to being a second careerist is that one fear of stepping away from what you know, and the level of income that you're used to, and then stepping into financial planning. Now, there are no jobs you can step into in financial planning as a trainee financial planner, which is going to pay you, like some good recruiters are probably on average in 70,000-80,000 quid a year. So probably pushing to 100 if they're pretty decent. And then you've got some that are earning astronomical amounts. I've got a guy I know does about 700k a year in earnings. Like, what he earns, which is incredible. So how did you approach that? Because you must have been doing quite well. You sounded like you had a good career in recruitment. So when you step across into St. James's Place in the academy and taking that was probably hit in salary, did you have some money in the bank to allow you to make that progression? Or did you just say, sod it, I've had enough of recruitment. I'm gonna take a hit in the salary and I'm just gonna build myself up and try and take over?
I was lucky in that I had not just a very beautiful, but a very supportive wife as well. And I always tell the story, if it wasn't for Louise, I would have ran out of money before I became somewhat decent and somewhat successful. And it's something that I always say now to young planners who get in touch with me, and even people who I interview. We have employed advisors within our practice. We have self-employed advisors within our practice. And I try and make a model that fits as long as it's the right person. I interviewed someone recently who wanted to become a self-employed advisor. And we had a look at their personal finances, because I know that it's not as easy as social media might have you make out. People who are on social media, people who are on podcasts, there's an element of survivor bias. So you need a big chunk of money in the bank. At the time when I made the transition over, there wasn't really this route to join a practice or to sort of go in somewhere employed. I first started off by, you will come out of the academy and you will set up your own business. And I'm on record now as saying that's a terrible idea. How can I learn to be a financial planner, a business owner, a marketeer, looking at my accounts, all at the time when I'm learning a brand new profession? I can't. So yeah, without Lou supporting me through that first year, I would have run out of money, because I certainly didn't make enough money to even cover my living expenses, let alone what I was earning in recruitment. And you get some good roles in recruitment at a 20 or a 25% of salary finder's fee, and you're recruiting for good sized roles, that you can make some good money. It was this joint focus that me and my wife had to build something bigger, build something more sustainable, and build something of more value over time. And like with lots of things in life, you have to take a short-term hit sometimes.
Great. You said it took a bit of time to get somewhat successful. Before we delve into that, why don't you just give us an outline of what you've built, where you are actually right now, and then we can talk about that, how long it took you to actually get what you would be considered to be somewhat successful, so we can give our listeners who are thinking about maybe leaving recruitment, perhaps, I think they're probably getting affected by SEO, to move into somewhere like financial planning. So talk to us about your partner practice right now. What size is it? How many people work for you if they do? What's your assets under management? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So the practice is 4 advisors. So there's me and my business partner, Rick, which we'll talk about. So we are 50-50 shareholders of Chatsworth Wealth Management. So there's Rick and I, Joseph and Vikash. So I'm Vikash. There's Vikash within the practice as well. 4 advisors, 6 support staff, We help about 1,000 families with all of their financial planning needs. And at the minute, bearing in mind that we are recording this right in the middle of Trump, tariffs, chaos and market crashes, we look after 266 million of client funds under management for those families. If we'd had this conversation towards the end of January, that number was more like 292 million. So at this point, we don't really focus on the funds under management number, because any fluctuation in markets or Mr. Trump sneezing can have a big impact on that. So we focus on things that we can control and focus on.
Yeah, fantastic. And what would you say, and what's the turnover of your business?
So last year it was 1.25 million.
Great. The employees that you people that work within your business at the moment, are they employed? Let's look at the planners. Are they employed or self-employed? Because I know at St James's Place there's a steer mainly towards self-employed, people going in running their own partner practices, but then there is a route to go in and sit underneath existing partner practices, isn't there? Self-employed. Yeah. But what do you do?
So we focus on the person. We focus on what they want to do, what their motivations are. So at the moment we have, in addition to Rick and I, we have an employed financial planner and we have a self-employed financial planner. So, and we've made those roles and we've made that remuneration basis based on what they wanted. I always want to promote entrepreneurial spirit. I heard you speaking to Guy about this, Guy Skinner. I also want to promote entrepreneurialism as well. So our self-employed advisor, he has no wife, no child at the minute, and he wanted to build something, work on his own terms, but work within a practice. He knew very early on that he didn't want to go out and just do that on his own. We have an employed advisor who, at this moment, doesn't want that fluctuating income as such. He has a wife, he has a 2-year-old child, so he is on an employed basis, but whenever anyone joins us or we interview, again, taking from my legal background, we have a document called 5 Steps to Equity Partner. So all of the planners who join us, at one point, I would like them to become part of the management team, to become part of the ownership structure. I think that's important, 1, for people's motivations, and 2, just for creating a sustainable business. But no, it entirely depends on the person, their attitude, their morals, ethics, integrity. And if they're the right person, we will find a remuneration model that works for everyone.
So, to be somewhat successful as a financial planner, as you put it, how long did it take you?
So I joined the academy in October 2015. So I'm coming up to 10 years.
Okay, great. So within 10 years, you've been part of a team that's built a practice with 266 million under management. That's pretty damn impressive. So how many doors did you have to knock to find those clients?
So look, at the start with anything, you knock on doors, you get rejected, you knock on doors, you knock on doors, you knock on doors. I realized quite early on that for me, there might be a better way to do it. And that better way to do it, look, I'm always a sponge for learning. So I'm with Sam Oakes in a WhatsApp group. Sam Oakes put something on there. I'm going to adapt it straight away. So when I first joined SJP, I would go and talk to anyone who I thought was moderately successful and say, do you have any clients that I could go and see who you might not want to go and see? Yeah, sure, Vikash, we do. Go and, yeah, I was just helping them, helping me. Okay, can I go on a joint meeting with you? Yeah, okay, why not? So I went on a joint meeting with, so I got to know the SJP community really well. And then I got to know a particular practice who we clicked. It was 2 guys who had each built their own individual practices, merged them together, and really liked them. They dealt with financial planning in the same way that I did. And to cut a long story short, in 2018, me and Rick ended up taking that practice over. So you asked me how many doors did I have to knock on? Well, I had to knock on a few doors to find almost mentors who I liked and got on with. But I always knew if I could go into a practice, possibly with a view of taking it over, then all I had to do was knock on the doors of existing clients to then get introductions, get referrals. So my view was always, I want to build a practice on top of an existing practice. So have we built that 266 million from scratch? No. Have we added a big chunk of it on top of an existing practice by adding value, making efficiencies? Yeah. So that was my route.
So interesting, because the ecosystem of St James's Place lends itself to being able to actually buy an existing practice. That's what the ecosystem creates. You didn't obviously have to go external to do that. It was there already. Is that a benefit of SJP? Is it something that you've seen as being beneficial in your journey? Like, was that quite an easy process, or was it difficult as it could be if you were going external and acquiring a business?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to say it was an easy process. At the end of the day, there are lenders, both SJP as a lender and external lenders. There's due diligence that you have to do. There's a business to take over. There's fluctuating markets. There's regulations. There's all of that. But was that easier than, I don't know, maybe if I was out on my own trying to buy another practice? Yeah, probably, because that infrastructure, they call it the BSP model. That is a cornerstone of the SJP proposition. And look, I'm not necessarily here to promote that or big SJP up for that part of it. But I do think that helps, especially in the context of, we've got these stats out there that the average age of a financial planner is 58. There's X amount retiring in the next however many years. There's not enough new financial planners coming through. There's an advice gap. So all of that should lead to, well, why is this difficult? Yet we speak to young financial planners and we know that it is a very difficult thing. So I do think there is something in the theory, and I've not quite articulated it yet, that if we do have all of these 58-year-old financial advisors retiring, we have new people who are struggling, then is there something whereby, like you would in any other profession, financial planning seems to be this weird thing. Why don't we plan that instead of Sam Oakes coming in as a new financial planner trying to build his business from scratch, a bit like in the legal world, you would have a training contract where over 2 years you sit 4 different departments. Why don't you have these new planners going into existing practices with a long-term view of succession planning? That just seems to make sense to me, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what, you think that's something that could be put across the actual profession as a whole? Like we create almost this route into building out a mini acquisition?
Look, in anything that you do in life, if a business or a profession is to be sustainable, then you need some type of succession planning. And it just seems bonkers to me that you get someone coming in as a former recruiter who then has to market to his existing network. And they're like, wait a minute, Vikash, 5 minutes ago you were a recruiter. Now you're saying that you're a pension specialist and I'm going to, do X, Y, Z. No, actually, I'm going to see how it goes. Whereas what I found was that when I joined a practice, I would go in and say, hey, Sam, you're already part of the practice. I'm dealing with, so there's already that element of trust in there. It puts less pressure on me. And ultimately it worked for us. The 2 guys that we took over from, they are now out of the business. They're living their lives. They're playing a lot of golf. They're enjoying it. And it's given Rick and I something to build on top of, which I think, okay, maybe that can be done, maybe across the profession.
Yeah, no, I agree. How did you end up meeting Rick then? Where did that come about?
It was almost like an old school, with my Indian background. It was a bit like an arranged marriage. So I said the practice that we bought used to be 2 practices.
So I went in as an advisor into my mentor's practice. Rick went in as an advisor within his mentor's practice. And when the two merged together, the guys basically said, look, we have a plan that within X years we would like to exit, and we would like you to be our successors, and we'll give you first right of refusal. So me and Rick just met at that point, and we joke about it now. So that was 2018. I got married in 2017, and I will joke to Rick and say, oh, you're not in any of my wedding photos. That feels really weird, because over the last 7 or 8 years, we have spoken daily, we have a business together, we have clients together, we have employees together. But look, Sam, we did a lot of things at the time as well. We went out a few times. Our wives, fiancés met. We went and played golf together. We spent a lot of time together because it was a big commitment. You hear about these horror stories of partnerships falling out. So we wanted to make sure that we were compatible in some way to lead and run this business together.
Okay, great. Good. So that's a good... Okay, so you came together like an arranged business marriage. I love it.
Well, like an arranged business marriage. So Rick is a second-generation financial planner. So his dad was a financial planner, Roy. Rick is a financial planner. He's 38. He has been in financial planning, administration, paraplanning, planning for 20 years. So he had all of that financial planning side of it. I had my legal background, recruitment. I'd helped my wife run a business, but was fairly new to financial planning. I don't think at the time he could have taken over a business without my business acumen. I don't think I could have taken over a financial planning business without someone with 20 years of financial planning experience. So we complement each other really well, and we still do. I'm the guy who you'll see selfies of on LinkedIn and posts on LinkedIn, and I'm on Sam Oakes' podcast. No one knows what Rick looks like apart from his clients. No one will ever have seen him. All of his clients love him, and he likes it that way. We balance each other out.
Yeah, I love it. Talking about LinkedIn then and social media and marketing, is this something you've started to get stuck into? Have you always done it, and have you been gaining much success?
So it's not something I've always done. Maybe a backlash from being a former recruiter. When I was no longer a recruiter, I thought I'm deleting LinkedIn and never logging onto this platform again. So look, at the start of last year, I was on a leadership course led by a guy called Steve Quinn, really great guy. And in the January, I was, as you are on these courses, you're taking everything in, but it's a nice point to be sort of outside of your business. We were in Manchester, and I was just doodling on a pad, and I wrote, "Give LinkedIn a sustained and consistent go." And that was all I wrote. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I first came on and probably wrote a couple of articles on boring financial plannery things like asset allocation and concentration risk, and realized no one cared about that type of thing. And over the last year, I've sort of developed my own voice and style of how I write on LinkedIn. So it's more personal stories with some tie into financial planning. What I'm trying to do on behalf of me and Chatsworth is to go down the "if you build it, they will come" approach. I'm just going to project myself out there into the universe, and those people, those clients, those future employees who resonate with what I'm saying will come to me. And I believe in the marketing lingo, all the cool kids, they call that top of funnel marketing, and then there's middle of funnel and bottom of funnel, which is a call to action. So I've been doing that for just over a year now. Have had good client success from it. So we've onboarded brand new clients, some who may have known me and were connected to me on LinkedIn, and then some completely cold. We've also seen a big increase in new introductions and referrals from our existing clients that we're connected to. And I think a lot of that comes down to social proof. It's a bit like, if I'm out there putting a video up of me, and me and you have spoken about this, Sam, before someone meets you, they already have an idea of
who you are. So some of it is in that social proof, in that they may say, oh, check out my guy on LinkedIn. So it's been good for new clients. It's been good for getting referrals from existing clients. It's also really helped me build my network within St. James's Place as well, which is important to me, and with other financial planners as well, which is part of the reason that we met and we're on this call now.
Okay, cool. So you're a bit of an academic. You like to study, you like to learn new things. What types of things have you been learning recently, and how are you implementing that into financial planning?
Yeah, so a bit of an academic, and I had this imposter syndrome of being a second careerist. I didn't realize at the time that everyone within financial planning, well, nearly everyone, was a second careerist. So I got to Chartered, I became a fellow of the Personal Finance Society, and then I sort of knew that my next qualification wasn't going to be something financial. I received a piece of advice earlier on in my career that said, look, a lot of people can go really deep into one subject, but there's not many people who layer different skills on top of each other. So if you're a fantastic financial planner, then maybe take a public speaking course, because there won't be that many who have got the combination of both. So recently I've finished a course called Managing Happiness, which is from HarvardX, which is the online arm of Harvard University. And that really stemmed from me having this philosophy within financial planning of helping people live the life that they want, making sure that their estate and their affairs are in order for when they're not here, and then also helping them to leave a legacy, whether that's financial or non-financial. So if I genuinely wanted to do all of that, then what better way than to really go to the core of our sort of human purpose, which is, I think a lot of people just want to be happy and they just want to be content. And I wanted to formalize that learning. So yeah, embarked on that course.
Do you just very briefly sort of give us an outline of what that course is? Because it sounds quite interesting to me.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a long course. It covers multiple things. But if I start off with a few main things that I took from it, one of the big things that I took was, and it says this in the opening few pages, we always think about happiness as something on a spectrum from unhappy to happy. You know, I am unhappy now, but if I do this, I will become happy. So it's almost this journey that we go on. And what I learned from the course was that it's not so much a journey in that way. Happiness is made up of 4 distinct parts. They are faith or purpose, family, community, and meaningful work. And if you imagine a sphere containing of all 4 of those parts, all 4 of those parts have to be there and in balance for you to feel happy and content. And that feeling when you're riding on the crest of a wave and then you go, do you know what? I don't feel great now. I feel unhappy. That's not because you've slid downwards on this scale. That's because something is off on one of those parts. And we need all of those parts to be filled. We need our own souls to be filled. And I really think it helps a lot when you are speaking to a client about the why. Why are we doing this financial plan? Where do you want to get to? Ultimately, I found people want to know they're doing the right things with their money. They want to live a good life, and they want to leave a lasting legacy for their loved ones. And if I can help them through this understanding of psychology, big tie-in with retirement. You know, I don't think retirement exists in the way that it did 40 years ago. You don't retire on a Friday, get a gold watch, and then play golf. People need that sense of purpose. People need that reason for being. And it's not just money. Money can help. Money can help you buy time. Money can help you do the things that make you unhappy. Different for different people. Got a client who loves gardening. Got a client who hates gardening. We use one of their monies to get a gardener so that can free her up to spend time with her grandchildren. The other one, she loves it. So let's keep it in there. Let's keep that in the plan.
So working out what people's why is and what makes them happy is a big part of financial planning, would you say? Or what their future self how their future self could be happy.
Exactly. It's how their future self can be happy. Two things on that.
I think a lot of the time we put too much focus on people's future selves. And I think any time where you're thinking too far in the future causes anxiety. So whereas I might previously have asked someone, right, you're 75 years old, what have the last 5 years looked like and what have you enjoyed? That's a good question. It's a good open question. But if I'm asking that to 44-year-old Sam, you're now thinking about all of these things in the build-up to... So instead, I might say something along the lines of, Sam, what have you done in the last 5 years that's made you really happy? And that's an easier question for you to answer. You might think of something you did with your family, your daughter, a particular piece of content you created. Right, how can we do more of that for Sam Oakes going forward so Sam Oakes feels happy and content?
Love it. Well, Vikash, I'm looking forward to something that's going to make me quite happy, which is, I think in June, fingers crossed, we got it in the diary. We're all going to get together, me, you, and 7 other financial planners, girls and boys, to have a game of golf. And not only that, we're going to record it on beautiful cinematic cameras, and we're going to go 2 sets of 9 holes, so 2 games of 9 holes, different golfers, different financial planners, all discussing their journey within financial planning, and people who are keen on golf can watch along and actually watch a game of golf as well. So for me, it's quite cool because it's like a brand new thing that we're doing here at the Financial Planner Live. It's great to have got to know you and everybody else in the little group that we've got going, and that everybody's keen and interested to do it. Because I can really see something in like the Financial Planner Live golf tournament. And I think out for a lovely walk, as long as it doesn't rain, out for a lovely walk, playing a bit of golf, talking financial planning, and a little bit of competition in there as well. I think we're onto something, don't you?
I absolutely do. I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's going to be, for those of you who watch golf content on YouTube, think Jimmy Bullard meets Rick Shields meets Sam Oakes of Financial Planner Live. There's I won't reveal the other financial planners, but there's Sam and 8 financial planners who, if you follow Sam, if you follow along on LinkedIn, you will have heard of them all. So everyone's going to be mic'd up. We have access to a golf course. We have some beautiful videography, some drone footage. So you're going to see, like Sam says, a bit of competition, a bit of golf. But most importantly, this is something that everyone in the group has done not to promote to new clients, nothing like that. It's simply to give something back to the young financial planners coming through. All of us have been mentored along the way at some point. All of us have got people that we look up to. So we can now, in our positions, do something which gives back to those young planners coming through. Then it's our privilege and duty to do so. So watch this space. It's all but.
I love it. I love it. I'm really looking forward to doing it. I think it's going to be a really fun way to educate some people. And I think a bit of golf along the way. Apparently, I might be a wild card. Wild being the sense that I don't know how to play golf. I go down to Top Golf and I can smash a ball pretty far. So whether or not my putting game is any good, we'll discover that on the day, I think. But I'm really looking forward to it. And today, thank you so much for sharing your journey on the Financial Planner Life podcast. You would have inspired and educated people. I think this one as well, I'm going to title it up towards recruiters, because I genuinely believe that we could fix this advice gap by moving a lot of really good people from the recruitment profession, because it does have a shelf life. People get bored, and it's tense. That when you hit your 30s, you kind of are looking for something else. You get a bit old in recruitment when you're in your 30s, if I'm honest. So I think it's actually a prime age for stepping into financial planning, 30. So I think there's definitely something in that. And I think if I mark that up on YouTube, then hopefully we might get a bit more interest coming into the profession.
Absolutely. And in true Sam Oakes style, he has taken a snippet of an idea and he's about to 10x it. And he's got a whole master plan of filling the advice gap with former recruiters. So look forward to it, Sam.
I've just got to execute it. Everyone's got a brilliant idea. You've got to execute it. Fantastic. Well, Vikash, thank you so much for your journey today and on the Financial Planner Life. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you again. Take it easy, mate.
See you soon, Sam. Cheers.
Cheers.